Hey, this is Notser, and I'm going to talk about commander skills because people have been bugging me. Yes, I know about the league. Yes, I looked over it. I'm disappointed. So, why am I disappointed? Well, it doesn't look like they addressed any of the bad skills. At the very least, there are very few that they've actually tweaked, and they didn't change them enough. But there are some highlights of it, and I'll talk about that. First highlight, level 5 is gone. It caps out at level 4, so that means you're going to have more points that you can spend wherever you like. And that's exactly what they want you to do. Hey, look at all these great skills. Take them, take them. Okay. Are they really good? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. Another great thing about it is the XP required to level up is lower. You can actually reach level 19 and not be press or an employee or a super tester. So that's good, obviously, for everyone. It was stupid. And I know why they did it. They didn't want everyone getting up to 19 and have nothing else to do. They want things in the game that drive you forward to continue to play. Yeah, we know that. And those are about all the things I like about the changes. And let's just go through skills. Expert Loader. This was always a level 1. This is the thing that reloads the gun 50% faster, but the gun has to be fully reloaded. I always thought it was crap because why not unload the ammo and then swap? You would have to be sacrificing a significant amount of damage if you were to find a target that the ammo that you have selected works well with, If I am a cruiser and I have an AP and I fire at another cruiser or maybe even a battleship, it's more advantageous to just fire that gun than to swap to HE and wait the reload cycle again, or 50%. It made no sense. It makes no sense now. It's only a very select amount of situations where it's beneficial. But it is 1 point. They figure, maybe it'll be useful in a blue moon. No. There are better skills that are basically required. And I'm going to talk about those. Aircraft Servicing Expert. This is basically the first skill you will always take in your aircraft carrier. It improves your aircraft. It makes it service faster. Yeah, nothing really to think about there. I think they're kind of missing the point there. One brand new skill on the mark basically adds a counter to your situation awareness and tells you how many people are targeting you. This is clearly great information because if you're a battleship in the background and you're detected, you probably don't know exactly how many people are engaging you. I know because I'm Notser and it seems like everyone wants to fire on me, but maybe you're lucky and people don't recognize you and they don't really care about you. Then you don't really know for certain how many people want to actually kill you. I just assume everyone wants to, and that usually works out to be about the average. It's a nice addition. It's basically required for anyone who plays any amount of time at the game. It's way better than Expert Loader. It's not way better than Aircraft Servicing because, let's face it, that's required for aircraft. But so far, it's really good. Preventative Maintenance has moved from a level 5 commander skill to a level 1. And it's still pretty crappy. But at one point, I could theorize that maybe something that doesn't get incapacitated would be able to absorb more damage, potentially making battleships a little bit more tanky. Maybe even destroyers and cruisers. I don't really know. It's such a garbage skill at level 5. Nobody takes it. Why would you? A brand new skill at level 1, Fog for the Fog God. This is where it's like, really? You named it that? It seems to be a reference to Blood for the Blood God, the Warhammer stuff. 20% radius of smoke. Absolutely ridiculous. This is such a terrible skill to add to the game. It is going to encourage more smoking. And someone was like, oh, you like smoking. Destroyers, they're all smokers, yeah? It's going to encourage way more smoking than already exists in the game. A lot of passive play, a lot of people going, you know what, let's plan to have 3, 4, 5, 6 ships inside the smoke instead of just 1 or 2. I don't like this skill. I don't see a reason for it to exist. And I can't really say anything else. It's a skill that is going to drive me insane, considering the meta and how it is currently. Dogfight Expert. This is the dogfight where the fighter DPS is increased based on your tier. If you were a tier 6 going up against tier 8, you had a better chance. This is old, outdated. They need to take it out of the game. I don't like it. I just don't see the reason for this when you're playing against the same tier. You don't get any benefit from that particular DPS increase of the same tier. Now, there is a loadout increase, so your fighters will be able to fire longer. But when 50% of a skill has no benefit in 80 to 90% of the games, you know there's something wrong with it. Plus, it's only for fighters. So if you're a strike package, you get nothing. Don't particularly like it. It is 1 point. I think it was a level 3. So it's much better that it's a level 1. But Aircraft Servicing Expert is the better choice. You will use that all the time if you are an aircraft carrier. Incoming fire alert. This just tells you whenever you're taking fire. It will sit basically on top of your situation awareness. It's orange and red. It spews up on the screen. It's useful, but your eyes are useful too. You can just look at the enemy and see who they're firing at, where their guns are pointed at. It's a good level 1, I'd say. It is useful for how cheap it is. And for 1 skill point, yeah, it's better than, what was it, 2 or 3? It was even used at 2, but I think 1, it's much more useful. You might see it on pretty much all of them. It depends on how deep in the build we get, how much we benefit. A brand new skill called Evasive Maneuver. When the carrier planes are returning to the carrier, they are slower, they have better detectability, and they are more survivable. So, speed is kind of a big deal. It's kind of the most important stat on an aircraft. I think this is sort of to discourage you from dropping your bomb and using them as a scout plane. Because if you were to get this, you would just be moving slower. So you would have to consider whether you wanted to have this skill before you went in and used your dive bomber as a primary scout. It is nice that it's really weird actually, that there's 3 carrier skills at least dedicated 100% to the aircraft carrier at level 1. That's a little ridiculous. Why does the aircraft carrier need so many skills? There are so many more major issues. I don't know why they're giving so many specific little skills that change the fundamental playstyle of so many aspects of the aircraft carrier and ignoring the main issue. And I'm sure they're like, oh, we're going to fix all of that. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. So that's all the level 1s. Let's go to level 2. Expert Marksman, same skill as it's always been. It's really, really good for anyone who traverses the turrets. Torpedo Acceleration. This is basically required for aircraft carriers and nobody else. It increases the speed of the torpedoes, but decreases the torpedo range. Basic survivability. Now, this is an interesting nerf. They have moved basic survivability from a 1 skill to a 2 skill. Is that fair? Maybe, maybe not. It's still basically required. It's very important for survivability if you take any amount of damage. So, basically everyone at some point would benefit from it, especially battleships and cruisers. Jack of all trades has moved from level 5 all the way to level 2, and it reduces the consumable cooldown by 5%. Okay, seems kind of crappy, but it is only 2 points now versus 5. A brand new skill, 2 is better. When deploying scout planes, send up 2 instead of 1, 20% cruising speed of scout. So I would interpret this as potentially giving double the benefit of a scout plane in its effective range increasing. It's also probably to protect the ship better by having better visibility around the ship, more evenly distributed. Maybe I'm a little maybe I'm reaching a little bit on effective range increase for battleships or anyone who benefits from the scout plane. I don't really care about the range increase, honestly. It is useful, but it's very hard because the perspective shift to make full use of it. You spend 99% of your time firing from one point of view, and then it changes the point of view to like an overhead. Not very easy. Expert rear gunner, self-defense of a bomber or a torpedo bomber is improved. Okay, was this a level 1 or a level 2? Doesn't really seem that good. Last chance. For each 1% HP lost, gain 0.1% buff to weapon reload speed. This is an interesting change where it's 1% HP lost, 0.1% buff to weapon speed. It honestly sounds very lackluster for anything other than a battleship. And maybe that's where they want it to be. It has an aircraft symbol. I don't really know what that means. Maybe aircraft will rearm quicker. Maybe they just stuck it there to say it. I don't know. Last stand. Allow the rudder and the engine to continue working even when incapacitated. Required for destroyers, of course. Even cruisers can benefit from this. It's a level 2. It hasn't changed. It's still really, really good. Level 3. Torpedo Armament Expertise. They move torpedo rearmament to a level 3, and it's very good for torpedoes. This is a big nerf, though. It's not as easy to reach. It's unfortunate. Fiery takeoff. Allows planes to take off when carriers on fire. I hate this. I think this is ridiculously broken. Every single aircraft carrier ever is going to take it. You might as well not have any other skills at level 3. Firefighting. Minus 7% risk of fires. It's awful. Don't touch it. Until they actually change it, don't touch it. High alert. Minus 10% reload time of the DCP. So this is the ability to damage control repair. It's good, but there are better level 3s. Basic firing training. This is minus 10% reload time for all secondaries and main guns below 139 millimeters. They also added DPS boost for AA. It's a level 3. It's a pretty pricey level 3, honestly. I don't see people taking it because it's just that expensive. Maybe when there's a million aircraft carriers, you will take this skill, but not me. Superintendent, +1 charge for consumables. Basically required. It's really, really, really good for everyone. Demolition Expert, +3% chance for fires from HE and bombs. This used to be a level 4. It's a level 3 now. The Japanese are enjoying that because it's a required skill for the cruisers. I could see it basically being in the Soviet destroyer line. You're also going to be getting it in the US destroyer line potentially because it's not really competing with anything. Torpedo Expert is better in my opinion though, so you might just skip Demolition Expert. For the final level 3, Vigilance, +25% acquisition range for torpedoes. It's really good if you're a battleship. If you're a scouting destroyer, it's pretty useful, but there are better level 3s, obviously. I would say that's middle of the pack. It's got to compete with a lot of good skills. For level 4, there's a brand new skill called High Explosive Armor Piercing. Minus 6% chance of fire for main and secondaries. Plus 25% penetration for main and secondaries. This is ridiculously broken for battleships. Holy crap. You will use HE far more than you ever do now against destroyers, against cruisers. Oh my god. You're going to do so much damage to those two particular classes if you take this skill. Absolutely ridiculously overpowered. Now, some of you are going, oh, why is it overpowered? I will tell you, most of your AP shells overpin cruisers and destroyers, of course, right? Well, HE has almost no penetration factor because it has to explode on contact. This is going to allow you to have more penetration against both of those classes. Which is, what is it? It's 23% higher damage per shell. Oh, that's a lot of damage. Yeah, that's a lot of damage. Even battleships, it might be more useful than, say, the AP if they're bow on, because you'll be able to go into the armor and stop. Obviously, you're going to use HE damage numbers, but that's still really good. It's way too strong in this current version. Air Supremacy. +1 fighter, +1 dive bomber. Same thing. I believe this is a level 5. It's now a level 4. It's really good for aircraft carriers. They're going to take it. Manual secondary fire control. This is the control click on the ship. Increases your secondary dispersion on target. If you don't use this, you don't get to fire your secondaries. Now, I don't see that written here, but I assume that is still the case. Survivability expert. It's still a level 4, plus 400 hit points per tier of ship. It's the exact same skill, so it's going to be useful on the exact same classes. Destroyers and select few cruisers. Please don't take this if you're a battleship, because it gives you almost 0% health. The only cruisers I would take it on are like a British cruiser, if that. Advanced firing training, plus 20% range of all secondary guns, main battery up to 139, 20% firing range for AA. It's the same skill, it's really good. Battleships love this, cruisers love this, destroyers love this. It's a really important skill. Manual AA fire control, 100% DPS for AA guns larger than 85mm. Now, this has select uses, but it's still useful. You gotta check your ship and make sure it has a lot of large caliber. Keen intuition basically shows you the direction of your enemy, regardless of whether it is spotted or not. Absolutely broken too. This is way too much information. I just don't understand why they want to discourage destroyers so much. It's only useful for spotting destroyers and undetected targets, but it's just too good. And then finally, concealment expert. This is the exact same skill as it is at level 5 and level 4. So there are a lot of different skills that I would qualify. I think you will have to choose more so than you do right now, which is good. I would like a little bit more choices, a little bit more variety in how you play an enemy opponent. I don't like high explosive armor piercing. It's way too powerful. Keen intuition, I don't like that either. Obviously, I prefer that people actually learn how to play the game and feel that there's an enemy in the area with situation awareness, with obvious positions that the destroyer could be, but I am biased, of course. This was not made for me. This was made for bads who can't tell the difference between a destroyer trying to ambush them. Oh, the smoke? Oh, that couldn't be a destroyer. That can't be. Or anything else like that. It's an interesting choice. There are a lot of aircraft-focused skills early on up front, with a lot less later on. Fiery takeoff, I don't like that either. That takes away a lot of the skill in being an aircraft carrier, avoiding your deck being on fire, when to send out, when to not. It just basically is, hey, ignore this ability. So we covered all of the skills. If you would like to look at the skills in more detail, there is a link in the description at the bottom. It will basically be the screenshot that I was using to read them off. It is interesting. It will require some more thought. Hopefully, Wargaming takes out the skills that are egregious, because I like most of the changes by moving them around. I want there to be 3, 4, 5 viable choices at every single level, so there's more variety in the game. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope my opinion isn't too crazy. I hope you can research it as well if you're interested in that. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time.